They're doing damage control because the masses are waking up. Our phone is ringing off the hook. And let's talk about crazy, Jimmy. Here's crazy. The entire global climate science community and every government around the world is saying emphatically that they need to put jets in the sky to spray light scattering particles to slow down the warming of the planet.
We have special guests with us. Dane Wigington is with us. He's a lead researcher and administrator for the website Geoengineeringwatch.org and executive producer of the groundbreaking climate engineering documentary, The Dimming. He has a background in solar energy and has devoted the last 20 years of his life to researching covert global climate engineering operations and the effort to expose and halt them. So welcome back to the show, Dane. And the reason why I have you on, Dane, is because we had big news yesterday from Lee Zelden. Lee Zelden is the EPA administrator in the Trump administration. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency, he tweeted out. I tasked my team at the EPA to compile everything we know about contrails and geoengineering to release to you now publicly. I want you to know everything. Everything's in all caps. I want you to know everything I know about these topics, and without any exception. Well, that's pretty interesting. Well, here's his video. Let's listen to it.
Concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who ask questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? We're seeing headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming. We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA.
Oh, really?
Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's what they mean when they call a limited hangout. So he's pretending...
Contrails? He's saying contrails.
So he's...
Not chemtrails, so contrails, the thing that they said chemtrails are.
Exactly right, Kurt. That's exactly right. So he's giving lip service to people who have serious questions, like we do here, like Dane does, and actually have evidence that the contrails aren't contrails, but that they're chemtrails. So if you go, I just want I'll give you a real, this is my Reader's Digest condensed version of what is in that report. If you go, Justin Hart put it together. He said, spoiler alert, there's no there. Contrails. This is what they say about contrails at the report. Contrails are a normal effect of jet aircraft operations and have been since its earliest days of air travel. If you are seeing a lot of contrails in your area, it is because there are a lot of jet aircraft flying overhead. And chemtrails, the federal government is not aware of there ever being a contrail intentionally formed over the United States for the purpose of geoengineering or weather modification. They've never...
It's not a contrail. They're telling you the truth. It's not a contrail.
It's not a contrail.
They do this legalese crap. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so when you see this, he's saying this is all just naturally occurring because of jet travel. And you must be crazy. And I love this. If you think this is normal, you're probably vaxxed and boosted. So
you don't think they put pentagrams in the sky naturally?
Right. So Dane, well, let me just read this one last thing, and I'll bring it to you, Dane. The EPA is not aware of any scientific evidence that supports any claim that any nefarious activities are taking place. HAARP is not a classified program, and its environmental impact study can be viewed by the public. So that's what. So Dane, I'm sure you read this. I'm sure you saw that. What is your response to this, Dane?
Well, this whole thing is absolutely ludicrous that everybody's going to pretend that climate engineering isn't raging in our skies. And from that little bit from Lee Zelden, he's not much of an actor, is he? And you need a big set of boots to wade through what he just spewed out. And what was his first attempt to address this issue? Going back a couple months, he tried this. He tried to point the finger at two IT actors from Silicon Valley that launched a few balloons. They launched 140 balloons. Total PR stunt, virtually meaningless, 10 grams of SO2 tied to each balloon. And Zeldin tried to point at the threat we face for our skies. That belly flopped completely. This is his latest attempt, no better. The public is waking up fast, and what happened in Texas is exactly what Geoengineering.org has tried to warn about for a decade and a half, and that's the tip of the iceberg, and much more is coming.
Yeah, it's much worse than that. You ever see the great governor where I live in Texas? When they asked him about, hey, did that guy with the mullet maybe start this with his stupid weather toy? And the governor goes, that's a loser question. I thought it was on par with Trump saying, why are you bringing up Epstein? Level, disconnect. It was amazing.
So I agree. Saw it all. And that kid you're talking about, Augustus Therico, there's something radically wrong with him, who he is, who he's connected to. We have pictures of him nuzzled up to Bill Clinton. He's part of the Peter Thiel Foundation of training youth, whatever the hell
creepy
it is.
Rosicrucians, yeah, I know. Yeah.
So we're gonna.
I mean, that guy showed up at every state legislative meeting to try to pretend climate engineering wasn't happening. No one would do that, but his little single-engine propeller-driven airplanes, which might drop 5 or 10 pounds in a flight, is going to change the world, right? Really? When a single military tanker can carry 100 tons in one payload? Yeah. Again, this is a circus of stupidity at this point. Climate engineering is raging in our skies. We're all going to pay the price if it doesn't stop. I have a wildfire in my backyard, so it's not just deluge. Climate engineering is setting the stage for these epic firestorms, and now we have U.S. Forest Service, another governmental agency. I was told this week by California state officials, U.S. Forest Service not only refused to let their firefighters put this out, they refused to let CAL FIRE put it out until it's massive and uncontrollable. What's going on here?
So there's a lot more nefarious stuff happening than I think we could even wrap our brain around.
Yes.
That's what I just like with COVID. People, it's the lie is so enormous that their brain can't wrap, and still to this day, most people I know can't wrap their brains around it, so they just dismiss it, and they'll say things like, "Oh no, that COVID's over. That's over," even though it takes 10 years to figure out what the side effects are from a new vaccine, and we're only 4 years in, so we're not even halfway through COVID and the experimental medical treatment called COVID-19 vaccine that we were mandated to take. We don't even know what the outcomes of that is. So the same thing here. I don't think people can really wrap their brain around. So, because Dane, they've made people who would look up in the sky. If you looked up in the sky and you saw stuff like this, and you had a question about it, they would call you crazy. You're a chemtrail crazy person. what do you make of the timing of this? What do you make of the EPA coming out pretending to be on the board on the side of people like you and me and Kurt who have questions about stuff like this? What do you think this is all for? And what do you make of it?
They're doing damage control because the masses are waking up. Our phone is ringing off the hook. And let's talk about crazy, Jimmy. Here's crazy. The entire global climate science community and every government around the world is saying emphatically that they need to put jets in the sky to spray light scattering particles to slow down the warming of the planet. And yeah, it would look exactly like what we see. Yes, it would disrupt the hydrological cycle, exactly like what's happened. And yet they tell us that we're not seeing what we're seeing. Nothing to see here. Move along. It's absolutely ludicrous. We have film footage of these aircraft at altitude, nozzles visible, turning dispersions on and off. They turn their transponders off. We can't track them. Only the military can do that. The larger tankers, we can't track. Their transponders are turned off. And we're testing precipitation, and it's packed with climate engineering, highly toxic elements. This is a circus of stupidity at this point, Jimmy, and we need the population. Thank you for your voice, you and Kurt. You guys have a very effective way of delivering the message, and we are definitely late in the game. But Zeldin is doing damage control, doing a pitiful job as usual, just like the Epstein disappearing files. This is going to blow up in his face, just like him pointing at the two clowns from Silicon Valley.
And so can you tell me a little bit about what is HAARP, HAARP, and why did they try to discourage anybody from thinking there's something going on with HAARP?
Well, there's a lot going on with HAARP, and HAARP is a weapon of mass destruction, period. High Active Auroral Research Program. That's what the acronym stands for. But that acronym isn't meant to mean anything to anybody. It's meant to be deceptive, and it is. HAARP is a ground-based ionosphere heater. It can transmit 3.6 million watts of power into the electrically charged ionosphere, causing an electrical chain reaction. These are patented processes. This science is not disputed. As it superheats the atmosphere, it causes it to expand up and down. The downward push in the atmosphere creates a high pressure dome, a term we see all the time now with meteorologists. And in the northern hemisphere, the upper level wind currents spin clockwise around that high pressure heat dome, and they can steer the jet stream with that. The original patent holder acknowledged that. A Discovery Channel documentary called Owning the Weather acknowledged that. And now they pretend it's some benign research facility. It's a weapon of mass destruction, and there's another ionosphere heater, a big one, in Antarctica, Jimmy.
Yeah. Is it Ice Cube, too?
There you go.
So Ice Cube's a big HAARP like I thought.
What is
my friend Eric Hecker's the guy that worked at Raytheon there.
Hecker knows. Yes, he knows. Correct. And again, so what do we have with the facility in Antarctica? During a U.S. presidential election, we had John Kerry, who was part of that election in Antarctica. During the election, he flies back to Christchurch.
Yes.
He flies back to Christchurch, New Zealand, still during the election. New Zealand was not towing the line for the power structure. Kerry pulls all the U.S. diplomats out of New Zealand about 4 hours before the massive quake hits New Zealand. What a coincidence, even though they were scheduled for meetings. Same thing happened we had Haiti. We've had the Turkey earthquakes. Now, again, this is
Syria had two.
Spoke about this. This is a tectonic weapon. So when you bounce a microwave signal off the now reflective atmosphere down into seismically sensitive strata and you superheat it, something's going to give. So to add credence to everything I just stated, Kurt and Jimmy, your listeners can search Japanese earthquake, atmospheric heating, MIT. Japanese earthquake, ionosphere heating, MIT. They acknowledged 3 days of atmospheric heating directly above the epicenter. They couldn't explain. That's signature HAARP. It's not a benign research facility.
I dismissed a lot of people that told me this stuff a while ago.
Me
it's
too.
kind of preposterous. I didn't know that we had a treaty in 1975 to not use weather weapons, which means they had those back then or wouldn't have a treaty. And
what's the caveat to that treaty? Yes, you're right. The NMOD treaties. And they passed those treaties because Project Popeye was so effective in Vietnam at controlling precipitation. How much further have they come now? But the NMOD treaties did not forbid, Kurt, they did not forbid a country doing whatever they want with weather, anything over their own population. No restriction there. Massive caveat.
How did I know? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's. Oh, also, I read the Mind War document from 2006 where they were talking how they can use this in the ionosphere to affect your moods. It was Mind War. It's how you make the enemy feel you've already won, before the war even starts. And I don't think they were using that on other countries because we didn't win them wars. I think they used it here.
However much they can tailor that is debatable, but the fact that we're an electrical organism, and if you bombard that organism with frequencies that disrupt that organism, that causes a problem, period. So again, and back to the frequency on communication transmissions as well, on top of this, we see the cell towers, they're being provided a service entrance that gives that 10 times more power than it needs for communication. What's that power being used for? Those towers are being used as part of the frequency transmission manipulations of the electrically conductive particles. So now let's go back to Texas. What happened in Texas? Now, that wasn't Augustus DeRico. It wasn't Rainmaker, his company with single engine propeller driven planes.
So let's hold on, Dane. I have a segment I have all prepared to talk about Texas.
I'm sorry.
So no problem. So let's not jump ahead. But, so there's a lot of nefarious stuff that's happening that affects the humans. And one of the things I want to remind people that does affect you is laughter. So we're going to be this next weekend. We'll be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, and Concord, New Hampshire. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.